Hello buddy, Andy here again, another kitchen vlog. I thought once again I'd try something different. I caught a bit of a programme on TV the other day actually that my wife was watching, and a subject that came up in that programme, which was very well done actually, something that I sort of partly tackled some time ago, but about the sort of dilemma that children have, especially teenagers nowadays, because we've always looked for sort of teenagers and people of that sort of age, you know, early 20s, as students generally, whatever, to sort of be rebellious people, to sort of, historically they've always rebelled against their parents, and all that sort of the way of life that is around now. But now, how can children, especially not my children, as I said before, I've got children who are 14 and 18, how do they rebel against me? Because I like the same sort of things that they do, and I wonder whether they find this very, very frustrating. For example, I mean, music, I swap music regularly with both of my children. We watch the same sort of films, we watch the same sort of TV programs, everything. We even dress the same, you know. I'm wearing a hooded top and all this sort of thing, and I wear jeans and t-shirts. Even a 50-year-old man years ago in my sort of father's day and age, or even not that sort of, well, 20 odd years ago, you could tell a person's age just by looking at them. Nowadays, it's very hard to do that. If you saw someone from the back, you could see what they were wearing. It probably would be very easy to tell how old they were, because even the hairstyles now, even if people sort of start to lose their hair, they're growing their hair long, they've got hair up it all over the place. I went to a gig the other day, a local gig, and there was a great age range of people there, which is another indication of this whole thing, that people there ranged from teenagers to people literally in their 60s, sort of pensioners as well. Now, you don't get that sort of age spread. Well, you certainly wouldn't have got that age spread sort of 30 years ago if you went to a Rolling Stones gig or something like that. You wouldn't have got 50, 60-year-old people there now. The radio station that I'm involved with, which is a rock music station, although we play old music and we play new music as well, we have listeners from early teenagers right up to late 60s, or even possibly older than that. So what hope have the young people of today got, that they can't rebel against their parents in traditional ways, because we're exactly the same? So if you're a younger subscriber of mine, and I know that I've got younger subscribers, I would love to know exactly what you think. Maybe I should really ask my kids, although we've spoken about this sort of thing before. It can be great in some ways, because it does mean that I understand a bit more about what they're going through. I understand sort of certain things, and they possibly feel that they can talk to me and my wife about things that I couldn't talk to my parents about. And that is probably one of the big differences, one of the better differences about this whole thing, is that there's a far better level of understanding. And maybe also it might keep you together in a way, because you've got similar interests. I talk to my kids about the internet and things like that. The other day I happened to be in my daughter's bedroom. She was watching YouTube, and she was watching What the Buck, and I said, "Oh, you watch him, do you?" So there you go, we're watching the same sort of YouTube channels. I sort of point her to certain videos, as I do to my son, and he sends me links to videos, and we exchange jokes and all those sort of things. Now, as I said, in some ways that keeps you together, and maybe it creates a bond that you didn't have maybe with my parents years ago. You might have had maybe a greater respect for them, I don't know. Maybe I'd love to know what my kids feel about that in that respect, how they sort of respect me or don't for whatever reason. But this can work in both ways. It can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing in both ways, if that makes any sort of sense at all. Whether me liking their music makes my son think, "Oh God, I've got nothing to myself. I've got nothing that is mine, that's a teenager can do now, that really outrages their parents, maybe, or that is so different." Maybe that's why we need maybe a new form of music. When I was a youngster in my sort of mid to late teens, the whole punk thing came along, which completely sort of revolutionised most forms of art, I think, and the world generally, and it was a great focus point for people who wanted to rebel, and our parents at the time just could not understand that. I wonder what would happen now if something new came along like that, whether I'd be going, oh yeah, and I'd be up there sort of shouting and getting into it as much as my kids are. And they'd probably be thinking, oh no, I do that now. I constantly embarrass my kids, and I'm sure if you're a parent you probably do it yourself, and if you're a younger person you could probably think of times when your parents have embarrassed me. You know, we end up going to the same clubs, we end up going to the same pubs, to the, you know, all that sort of thing. They've got nothing to themselves. If they go into a club, they'd be saying, careful, my dad's not in here, is he? Oh dear, you know, makes me feel bad sometimes, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are about that. You know, are the young sort of lost nowadays because they've got no, so they haven't got anything to rebel against, but their parents are probably going to be right there with them, so manning the barricade, standing behind their sons or their daughters. So if you're younger, I'd love to know what you think about this, whether it worries you, whether you know, you're happy with it. Maybe it's good to have your parents there, or if you're a parent, how do you feel about it? Maybe you've never even thought about it before. It could be embarrassing or even stifling your children in the nicest possible way, and I'd love to know what everybody's thoughts are on this, and maybe I should go and ask my kids as well. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.